what's that song where the hook of the tune goes, blame it on the alcohol? Like,
No idea.
it took you a second. Hey, it's like I don't know that song,
Yeah,
but it kind of makes sense.
yeah,
Um, it's every flight I ever had on the way to Vegas where it's people are already getting tuned up in the airport, and they get on the airplane and they're already kind of drunk and rowdy.
yeah.
Uh, the funny part is on the way back, everyone's just passed the hell out. Like,
Yeah, true.
um, it's the flight back from Vegas isn't that bad. It's the flight to Vegas, but let's blame it on the alcohol. um, I'm at a point where let's just blame it on the assholes because, uh, man, I was traveling a lot before COVID.
Hmm.
People suck. It's there's people that don't have manners anymore. Everyone's an asshole. Everyone thinks the world revolves around them. They're just rude. They're angry, especially after like what's going on with COVID now.
Yeah.
Um, these people just ruin shit for everybody else, and you know they might be the minority, but man, there's enough of them to really make travel miserable. Um, I don't know if you feel the same way, but that's
I mean, I do it, but you kind of look at the entire traveling experience, and it can be painful. Like it's easy if you plan. I just think of it from a business flying kind of context. But it's easy if you plan, you travel light and things. But I can just imagine like you add another person, maybe your significant other. If you've got kids, it starts all the way with like TSA, and that experience is already stressful and terrible, and the whole thing's just painful.
yeah. I will spend more money to make my life less of a hassle.
Hmm.
And I get in this argument with people about the seat space, and like Delta offers, um, I don't know what the hell Delta Plus, Delta Comfort. I don't know what the hell they call it, but it's between first class and the basic class in the back,
Yeah.
where Gen Pop is. There's this little area in the middle called like Delta Comfort, Delta Plus. I don't know. And the seats are like they're usually not tremendously more, but they are more money. And you get a little more width and a little more leg room, and you might get like an extra snack or something. And you talk to people, and it's like I'm not paying that extra money for a 2 or 3 hour flight. It's like for $30 you could make yourself more comfortable. And I understand not everyone can afford that. I'm talking about people that I know $30 ain't shit to them, right?
Yeah.
And they just won't do it. But then they'll complain that the seat. It's like, well, you went and bought like the seat all the way in the back that's completely cramped. Um, you made this decision because again, it's one of those things where when you get an option, they just won't spend the money on it, even when they can afford it.
Yeah.
Um, so I got the clear thing, which that gets you past like the ID check.
Hmm.
At least at Delta. So I got clear, and then I got my TSA pass. So between the two of them, I can basically skip just about any line.
Oh,
So I can get through that very fast. I usually buy first class tickets, so I can if I got to check a bag, I can get that checked pretty quick, or I'll just I'll check in curbside and duke the guy $20 to to check my shit. Oh, a little story on that. When I was like super young, early 20s, and I'm like still learning how the world works. I haven't traveled much. Where I came from. It was not the best upbringing in the world, so I didn't know shit. And I forgot to tip the guy at LaGuardia who checked my bag, and I just assumed that Delta was just checking the bags in curbside. I didn't
yeah.
realize you're supposed to tip that guy. It's and me, I'm usually a fairly generous tipper across the
Hmm.
board. I just didn't know I had to tip the airport guy. This motherfucker opens up my suitcase and leaves me a note saying when I'm an asshole, and then he like ripped my tag off my bag and says, "We know where you live now. Make sure we live off these tips. Make sure you tip next time."
Whoa. Whoa.
And it's just like, can I? If you see some dude that's like 40 years old with Louis Vuitton luggage and shit, I get it. I was like some punk ass fucking like early 20 something. I was like, man, this is a new, it's a very New York thing, right?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's
Wow.
like, yeah, it's not that I was trying to be cheap. I just didn't know you tip the people at fucking Delta. Um, it makes you wish we just had that. I think it's in Europe that the tipping thing is not like that, right?
Hmm.
Um, don't quote me on that part, but I've heard people talk about that because it gets to the point where you're opening up my luggage, you're ripping my fucking address tag off, and writing me half a threatening note because I didn't give you like $5, and fuck you, man. Like
Yeah. I mean,
it's
growing up out in Asia, James, like there are certain cultures out there that like tipping is rude, right? And so it's one of those things that before it's almost like a briefing that you get, like, well, before you go to America, make sure that you tip everybody.
yeah. And the thing was, I've always been something that I've always over tipped.
Yeah,
It's
for
just
sure.
one of those. It's just one of those things because I grew up broke. I've always appreciated the people that were out there. I hate saying this because I don't want to make it sound like everyone doesn't do real work, but there's people out there that are doing real work. Like they're on their feet all day, busting their ass.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was like a 21-year-old or some shit, whatever, that you're supposed to tip the people at Delta.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, shit. Now I know. I just a little aggressive. You know what? If the dude would have been like, hey man, and you should, if he just would have asked you for a tip, I would have fucking threw him $20. It's I just didn't know, but it's like, fuck, man, like, what a world we live in, and I get it. I mean, I get it. I could say I was in the wrong. I just didn't know. It's like shit. Everywhere I go now, I Google that shit. Shit. It's like, well, um, do I need to tip the general manager at Kroger? Like, I need to fucking know. Um, it's
That's
that is
ridiculous.
Anyways, that's my little segue of a story where I got threatened by a bag checker at LaGuardia. Um, it's
Oh dear.
welcome to New York. Welcome to New York
Welcome to New
City.
York City. Yeah. My
Part of
goodness.
you,
Oh, go.
yeah,
Yeah, go on.
but
No, no, go ahead, Jim.
part of me appreciates that though. I'll take that over the like fake ass niceness shit. Like I'd rather you just be that way. Um,
100%.
what are you gonna say something?
I'm gonna just kind of kind of get us back on track here with the article, which is that Delta wants to. They have a no-fly list that has apparently 1,600 people on it, but they're asking for a national no-fly list because having their own doesn't make any sense if these people can just fly other airlines. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on like that as an idea, but then also like what's the solution to just dealing with assholes.
I don't know. It's just I had a there's a I think it's a rapper in Detroit, maybe Trick. It's got they say no fly zone if you're coming to the city and you're coming to do a show or something. You got to hit up Trick first. So there's like the no fly zone in Detroit. That's how we deal with it. You call Trick.
It's
Um,
funny.
uh, I don't know, man. As far as Delta and no fly, if people can't keep their shit together, you don't you lose that privilege to fly on a plane. Why do they get to ruin it for everybody else? Um, but anyways, going back to my story before I got
Yeah.
segued with my halfway violent LaGuardia story. So I got clear, and then I got the pre-check, and that's pretty simple. I get a first class ticket, which is first class, and a domestic first class ticket sucks, but just to make life easier on boarding and check, it's a little bit easier. I'm
Yeah.
also the size of a linebacker. The extra inch and a half of room the seat gives you is kind of nice. Even doing all that, trying to make things go as smooth as possible and just trying not to have to deal with idiots, it still is not a great experience sometimes.
Mhm.
And I love airports. I don't, people are like, why do you like airports? I don't know. I just like airports. I like traveling. But even after making it as easy as possible, knowing that there's these assholes out there, and I've seen quite a few, it makes you always want to go do private travel. Like I want to go
Mhm.
make more money so I can regularly fly on Wheels Up or something. Like, I don't need a big old like G4 or G6 or whatever the hell those people are. I don't need the Grant Cardone plane. Um, just the thought of I wouldn't have to deal with this bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
It makes travel. You're trying to often outside of business and even business, you want to have fun. But a lot of times you're traveling for vacation, and it's like the travel part of it ends up being miserable, and this isn't relaxing. So I see where as this world gets a little nuttier and people can't keep their shit together, does private travel just keep getting, is that a bigger business that's on the horizon, especially as people are getting more money?
Mm.
If they could get the cost down on some of the private flights, I think, well, I think you're already seeing it explode, right? It was marquee jets, and then now it's net jets, and that's larger. And then you saw Wheels Up, and there's more and more of these places popping up, and it's like, well, are they eating market share up with somebody else, or are they expanding market share? And it looks like they're expanding market share.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, because if you can afford to, do you want to deal with these assholes anymore? Um, my thought is no.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wouldn't take much to convince yourself that it's worth the money to fly travel. I mean, fly private. You're right. And I hadn't thought of that point where more people are getting more money. And it really does open up this as an option. So very interesting.
I mean, the upper middle class has grown quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That people don't want to admit that, but when the middle class shrank, we talk about this often. Yeah, the middle class shrank, but not everyone went. They didn't go lower middle. They didn't go working class. A lot of the middle class went up. They sent their kids to college, and they're in tech, and they're in finance, they're in these healthcare jobs. They make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So we actually have a larger upper middle class now, and obviously the rich have gotten a lot richer. Um, so if you got any kind of money, does it make sense to fly Wheels Up, or do you split it? Hey, we're gonna go to Disney World. You get like 3 families together and say, hey, let's whack up the tab on the plane so we don't have to deal with um, the drunken idiots and people fighting over masks and just assholes, man. People are just assholes. Um, I think this also parlays into. I was talking about this a few years ago because I felt like the world was getting. At times, I feel like you don't even want to go out in public anymore. Like people are crazy. Everyone's got a phone in your face trying to record everything you do. They're it's annoying anymore. Like there's no sense of privacy. You can't just go out to dinner and have a nice time. Is there going to be a market for more and more private, like dining? Is there, more private events? Are you better off like having a big movie theater now, or are you better off having a movie theater that's got like 12 smaller theaters that you can just rent out for you and your friends?
Oh, wow. What an idea.
And do the restaurants start having more and more private dining areas where you can just go in there and you don't got to deal with the assholes of the world anymore? You can just be around your friends and your family, and you're willing to spend more money to just get away from these crazy ass people. It's I I just feel like you're going that route for the people that can afford it. The private planes, private dining, just private experiences or semi-private experiences where you just don't have to deal with the drama and the bullshit anymore.
Wow, yeah. I mean, going back to your original premise change, imagine private jet out to Vegas and you've got a private room in a casino. You basically just don't interact with anybody. That'd be
The thing
nice.
is, yeah, you kind of like it, right? I like being around people. I like bars and restaurants that are packed. But it's like it's like you're always bumping into someone that just can't keep their mouth shut. Or it's like, or the same thing. I hear a lot of hospitality people. It's like, God, you do anything, and someone pops their phone up and they start recording you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I can't even have a disagreement about sending a plate of food back, or if something wasn't cooked right, or they pop their phone up and they start recording. It's like, Jesus Christ! Like this is no wonder we're so hostile. We're so tired of everyone's got a phone in your face. Everyone is trying to start shit. Everyone wants to go write a bad review. Everyone's trying to get free shit. The people next to you, they're loud. They tell you to shut the fuck up, and it's like, you know, how many times I've seen people that didn't know each other just start fighting for no reason,
Yeah.
and these are like at reasonably nice places. I'm just like, I don't enjoy this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's not like where I grew up, where you know you're at an Irish pub and two guys got really drunk and they scrapped. Hell, Kane, that at least made sense to me, and I don't know why, but it did. It's it just seems like that's what happens where I lived when everyone's drunk. You're at a place that they're charging like $150 for a steak, and uh, a quote unquote artisanal water is $5, and you just see these people just being rude, arguing. It's like this is not the environment that I want anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the you get a imagine this, you get off your the smallest little jet, right? The 6-7 seater, the what do they call it, ultralight or light jet, a light jet, baby. 6-7 seats. You get the cost down. You don't have to deal with TSA. You don't have to deal with I see, I like the airport though, but you don't have to deal with the airport. The plane kind of leaves when you want to leave. You land at your next spot. You just grab a Uber black car, right? You just get a top. Like, you could basically just avoid everybody.
Yeah.
And it's do you see the hotel like poolside? More cabanas where you can just have your little kind of private space,
Mm.
more private dining experiences, just ways to escape this craziness that's going on. I think as people have more and more money, and people are going to spend more money on experiences, they're going to be willing to open their pocketbooks up for. It's worth paying the money to avoid these people that um, end up on a no-fly list.
There's so many.
And that's no joke. But just because they can't fly doesn't mean they're not going to end up in that restaurant next to you.
Right.
They're not going to end up, there's no guarantee that they're going to end up at the pool next to you at the resort. And I don't know. It's people just can't keep their shit together anymore. I feel like I just did an episode on the murder rate. That the murder rate went up crazy in 2020 at a time when a lot of times we blame murders on poverty, but everyone was kind of getting paid last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, even where I grew up, a lot of those people who didn't have a tremendous amount of money, they got a big windfall last year. And then you blame drugs, which, if you're in a drug game, bad shit happens. But we're legalizing more and more drugs. So you thought that maybe, obviously stuff like heroin and coke and meth, like that stuff's not legal. But on the marijuana side, like you thought that would be calming down. So, but still, like, with some of the cops and shit not pushing so hard on the drug side, and then all the money that was in the system last year, murder rate was still up a lot.
Mm.
And it's just like, man, are we just, COVID drove us all kind of batshit crazy. We're cooped up. There was a lot of civil unrest. It just makes you wonder. It's like, well, who's getting murdered right now? In my neighborhood, people that got your average everyday citizen walking down the street just didn't get shot up in a drive-by. It's, usually you piss somebody off, you were a thief, you were in the drug game, those kind of people got hurt, right?
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, like, well, if all that stuff's not going on, then why was the murder so high? Or are we just at like this where society is going, where everyone's just that angry and that mad? And you can see how, if that's where we are as a country, how this is trickling over into flying, for example. People are just that pissed off and that combative. If it's like a 5-hour drive or fly, I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I'd much rather be alone in the car than with hundreds of people on the plane. I wanted to bring up something, James, when you talked about kind of the murder rates and things, but I was just thinking, look, like we grew up in a time where, like, this stuff wasn't too normal, right? Like this is out of the ordinary and that's why we're pointing to it as like, oh, what's going on? But can you imagine like the kids nowadays who grow up and like this is normal? Like, what does that mean, for society 20, 30 years down the road when kids nowadays become adults?
I mean, their idea of normal is going to be a lot more skewed than what we thought was normal.
There's no doubt. No doubt.
It's, the thing is, like, even where I come from, what was normal there, I knew like wasn't right.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to get out of that area and get out of that lifestyle and go create a new life somewhere. I just don't know if I see. I'm just not sure I see that right now. It's
Mm.
it's just a lot of anger. It's a lot of people that I feel that I come across that are angry and they can't. You try to like poke around a little bit and you can't really figure out why they're even angry. It's just like when I think we hit a point where people were so used to getting their way all the time that the second it doesn't go their way, they flip out. And I think that was last year. Things didn't go a lot of people's way. Last year was tough.
Yeah.
And like I feel like it's those kids that were never told no. It's like we are so used to just getting whatever we want. You want a plane ticket right now, you get a plane ticket right now. You want yeah, we're gonna do I think we're gonna do an episode on like food and obesity, that thing I sent you from the UK.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I always talk about, because I've lost 100 pounds twice in my life. I've either been super jacked, power lifter, bodybuilder, or fat. And yeah, I was fat with muscle at least. All right, let's just be clear about that. I was still functionally a strong dude. Let's not go too far. But I equate it a lot to us, not just like sugar. We got a lot of terrible food, over processed food, and how much we consume of it in this country is mind blowing. But I also attribute a lot to how we live now, where whatever it is we want, we can have it. If I want tacos, it's 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
If I want sliders, it's 5 minutes away. If I want Mediterranean food, if I want 8 ounces of garlic and some pita, it's 5 minutes away. Whatever it is I'm in the mood for right now, I can get it. And I think that leads to when you can get whatever you want all the time, you tend to eat more of it. And then the second thing is it's a whole behavior about anything you want. Amazon will ship me shit in the same day. I can get it right now.
Yeah.
You don't got to wait for anything anymore. We get whatever we want whenever we want. And I think that leads to when someone tells you no on the airplane or that you need to do something that you don't want to do, people just lose their goddamn mind. Because our whole society now is getting whatever we want when we want it. So when we do the episode on obesity, I just want to talk about that whole thought of, okay, you'll never eat less in your life than when someone's putting food in front of you don't want.
That's true.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if you wanna go on a fucking diet that works, fill your house up with food you hate.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're hungry enough, you'll eat that shit, but you won't eat much of it. And I think that's the issue, is we can just get whatever we want. And when you're in a mood for something, and if I'm in the mood for Mediterranean food, and I can get it right now, it's like I end up getting 2 sandwiches and the garlic. Right. I don't need all that shit, but it's what I want. So you end up over consuming. We can do that 3 meals a day. I can get, if I want a sausage cheese biscuit from McDonald's, boom, piece of cake. If I want tacos for lunch, many joints all around. And if I want, steak and mashed potatoes and a Caesar salad, I get whatever I want at any time of the day, usually between 6 a.m. and midnight, I can get it. Which means 3 meals a day, I can potentially end up overeating.
Yeah.
And then it's not just that, Kane. They'll deliver the goddamn shit to your house.
Yeah, you don't even need to move.
You don't even got to move. So not only can you get whatever you want when you want it, they'll deliver the fucking stuff. So it's like, man. But again, if you tie this all back to where we're at with airplanes, we're kind of like a bunch of spoiled brats anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
We just get whatever we want when we want it. And God forbid someone tells us no, or you can't, we lose our goddamn mind.
Yeah.
And then Then you have a couple drinks, and then
Oh dear.
it's blaming on the alcohol. So,
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
I don't
What
know,
a
man.
world.
I'm I'm gonna just I'm saving my money up to get that. I got the Wheels Up app, and I keep looking at. I want to take a trip, whacking up a trip with some people that make it, affordable.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, to fly from like Detroit down to Miami, from like there and back on a light jet. Don't quote me on that. I think it's a light jet, but it's
Mhm.
like it's about 24 grand.
Oh, a bit of a difference than flying on these on Delta.
It is, but if you get the right plane and the right amount of people, it comes out to maybe high side. I'm saying like 2 grand a person.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Um,
True.
now, I mean, these are people that can afford this shit, and if you get if you're not using like points and like upgrades and all that shit, if you just buy a first class ticket from DTW to Miami, it's like usually $1,000 to $1,300 if you buy it
Mm.
outright. So if you were already flying first class and it was another $700 to just take a private plane, and
Yeah, no
if you
brainer.
can,
No brainer.
if you can do it with a group of people, that's right. If the fuel costs, it's going to be hard to ever get the price down. But if they can somehow keep the prices reasonable on private planes, and you can figure out a way to get you spread it across a group of people, I can see where more upper middle class people will for sure. Or you can get empty legs and all that. There's other ways to travel private and cheaper, but that's not very convenient. But I know a lot of people that if they were already going to spend $1,200 on a ticket, if I said, would you spend 2 grand to skip the airport's TSA luggage check? You just pull up in front of the plane and hop on and go. It probably saves you 5 hours between going and coming.
Mm.
Um,
Do you get more control over your schedule too? Like, are you able to just, or is it like these companies where you've got to like, oh, there's a flight at 11:15, or could it be like, oh, I want to go at 8 a.m. and then the plane's ready for you at 8 a.m.
you can book it exactly whenever you want,
Oh, that's massive, massive.
and that way you can maximize time at the resort. If you got late checkout, like I do through my American Express card, I get like 4 p.m. checkout. So book the flight for 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You could check out at 3, instead of having to leave the hotel like 10 in the morning. You could check out at 4 o'clock, and basically you get a whole other day. And
Mm.
I'm not saying you can't do this with regular flights. I mean, you just got to catch the right flight. Um, but yeah, you get to say, I want to depart at 6 p.m. I'm gonna check out at 4, get to the airport, blah blah blah, and you go. So it's back to the time thing. It's that the amount of time you save dealing with the regular airport, going to your destination and coming back from your destination, 4 or 5 hours. It's like, so for that extra $800, is 5 hours of your time worth $800 plus not having to deal with these psychopaths.
Yeah,
And also, do you want to be on a plane full of 300 people when there's COVID going on?
yeah,
Um,
true.
obviously, if it's one person, then the 24 grand to fly to Miami is it's you're gonna need a different level of income to pull that off. But I think if you can spread it across a certain number of people, you can get that cost down enough. And at least you're on a plane full of people that you like. You kind of know what they've been doing. COVID, they vaccinate, not vaccinate, all that jazz. And I just see more of this stuff happening as the world gets a little crazier, and it seems like this virus isn't going away. So
Yeah, great point.
private experiences, I think, are in the next 10 years are they're definitely going to come into style. So
I can't wait.
I'm just gonna make some more money.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all I got, man.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I got you.